So we ended up getting one of the tubs, and lo and behold, it was working. So within the first 2-3 sessions, she was already feeling a complete body difference.
Wow.
Without doing blood work yet. So we hadn't seen the blood work of the after. She kept up with it for a couple months, went back to the doctor, did blood work, and it was completely wiped off. They're sending out magnetism through your body in specific areas. We can do localized ones or more of a generalized where it kind of creates a bubble around your body.
Whoa. I feel like so many people in today's society are scared to have kids. I feel like society's pressuring us to not have kids.
Yeah. The Apaches used to do something where they would hold water in their mouth while they were running. That's how they would train. And so it forced them to nasal breathe the entire way.
Welcome to the Humans in Harmony podcast, where we learn about the interconnectedness of the mind, body, and spirit. When it comes to optimizing all three of those, biohacking plays a powerful role in achieving balance, vitality, and peak performance. Today we're joined by Luke Valen, the founder of Arctic Labs, a state-of-the-art biohacking facility designed to help people recover faster, feel better, and perform at their best. Previously, we had Alex Manriquez on the show, and we talked about some of the biohacking things that they have to offer. But today we're going to take a deeper dive into what biohacking truly is and the vision behind Arctic Labs. So without further ado, Luke Valen, thanks for being here, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
So why don't we start off with what is biohacking?
Oh, man.
In simple terms, just...
It's taking modalities that are natural, that have been around forever, since the beginning of time, and using those to advance your body, performance-wise, health-wise, anything like that.
Gotcha. So what all do you guys have to offer at Arctic Labs?
At Arctic Labs, we encompass as much as we could within the space that we had. So we're using every modality that we found is effective at bringing down things like inflammation or helping things like mental health. Those are our two big things there. So some of the things that we have for that is going to be the cold plunge. Now that's a huge thing across the country right now, and it's been around in all the other countries for years, generations, but it's kind of becoming the new thing on healing, on biohacking. We specifically use it for mental health. It's been proven to be used for things like depression and anxiety, stress, and even sleep. And so that's our big one right now, is the cold plunging, just for the mental health benefits. And it's been incredible.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So is that what started it all? You were like, I need a cold plunge facility, and then you built off of that? Or did you just want an entire biohacking facility where you had all these different avenues to help people out?
Yeah. So when I lived in LA, I lived there for quite a while. I actually had gone to a place where they did the stand-up cryo, which is the nitrogen chambers. And that was amazing. I would go there 2-3 times a week. I had a membership to a place out there where that's specifically what they did. And out here, there had been nothing for healing, nothing for finding a way other than physical therapy or a doctor to actually heal your body.
Wow.
And so the thing that sparked it was I actually, my mom was going through lupus. She had been diagnosed with lupus after her cancer. And with all that inflammation in her body, it was making her hands just curl up and hurt. Her skin was kind of peeling away in certain spots. And it just wasn't fun. It was painful. And so with all the medications that she was prescribed, it just seemed like it was going against themselves. You're using one for one thing, one for another thing, and then they kind of add on new side effects. So we started researching, okay, what can help this naturally? We looked up and found that cold plunging has been used for things like that since it's an inflammation-based disease, right? So your body's attacking itself. So we ended up getting one of the tubs, and lo and behold, it was working. So within the first 2-3 sessions, she was already feeling a complete body difference.
Wow.
Without doing blood work yet. So we hadn't seen the blood work of the after. She kept up with it for a couple months, went back to the doctor, did blood work, and it was completely wiped off. It
Wow.
didn't, there was no trace of lupus on her at
What?
all. And so she's been continuous with it now. She continues to do it even now today.
Wow.
And yeah, it's been a game changer.
That's insane.
She
So
was
she was
able,
taking all this medication, no healing was happening, or was it just like helping her in the meantime, or
right. Yeah. Those medications are always more like a Band-Aid.
yeah.
So it's something to cover the pain and
Mm-hmm.
kind of mask it rather than treat the cause.
100%.
So yeah,
And then you switch her to some cold plunge, and all of a sudden it's gone.
gone.
Lupus is gone.
And she didn't have to use any of the medications after. I think we
Wow.
had one more. I think it was a blood pressure medication that she was still having to use. But other than that, the other ones were, she was able to come off.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. That just shows you the power of biohacking right there. Hey, a disease that these doctors can't cure with medication can be healed with cold plunge.
Right.
That's unreal. And that's an inspiring story, man. You built your company to help your mom.
It was awesome. What we did is we were able to do that for her. And then we said, there's nothing in town doing this.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in a lot of the country doing this. And we decided, this is something worthwhile to investigate and jump into. And at the same time, we didn't want to just keep it to one thing, which was the cold plunging. So I thought, okay, let's add in the saunas for the heart health. Let's add in the oxygen for the mental health and performance. And lo and behold, we added a bunch of different things.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's an inspiring story for sure. So what else do you have besides the cold plunge? You got oxygen therapy, red light therapy, sauna. Is there anything else? I think there was something like magnet therapy.
We do, yeah. So we have PEMF therapy. That's pulsed electromagnetic fields. They're in the most basic terms, they're about the same as a Tesla coil, right? So
Okay.
they're sending out magnetism through your body in specific areas. We can do localized ones or more of a generalized where it kind of creates a bubble around your body.
Whoa.
So PEMF therapy kind of developed off the idea of grounding,
Gotcha.
where people are taking their shoes and socks off and they're walking outside.
Yeah.
The science is showing that the Earth is putting out about 0.6 Gauss rating,
Okay.
and that's the measurement of the magnetism coming off the ground and into your feet, right?
Yeah.
So with these pulsed electromagnetic fields that we have, they're in these little halo devices. They're little circles. They're putting out close to 30 to 60 Gauss. It's a very high concentrated amount of it. So we're
Wow.
able to penetrate deeply into the body, and it's incredible. It magnetizes the cells and just gives them that kick to work properly.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's a interesting area, the grounding. Some people think it's like woo, like,
Yeah.
what are you doing grounding? What is that? But studies show that your blood cells start clumping together because they get opposite charges. And when they start clumping together, they don't flow as well because it's like a traffic jam trying to fit a whole bunch of cars through a tight intersection. Well, whenever you take your shoes off and touch the earth, it discharges, and now all your blood cells have the same the same charge, and it allows it to flow better.
Right.
Are there any other benefits besides that?
A lot of it's used for things like sleep,
Okay.
pain, again, inflammation. A lot of what we do is inflammation reduction.
Mm-hmm.
So I track my blood work regularly. Normally every 4 to 8 months, I'll do some blood work just because I like to see where I'm at always and see, if the eating
Yeah.
is on, if the sleep is on, things like that. My kidneys were showing that they were actually dropping in their levels. And now it's not the most accurate to read them on what's called an EGFR. That's kind of one of the blood markers that show kidney function, to show filtration.
Mm-hmm.
That's more of a generalized number, but if you track that exact same number over time and you see that it's changing, then it's still going to be a good measurement, a good source. Mine were dropping for whatever reason. So I had started doing things like kidney cleanse tablets, things that are just natural herbs and things like that. And they help slightly. But since it wasn't really changing too much, I took that PMF device, I put it behind my back, just where the kidneys are, and I would run it for about 20 minutes a day for 3 days a week. After that, the levels actually skyrocketed. So they were about 77 up to 99.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So how does it know what to target?
It doesn't. It's just going to be where you place it.
Okay. So
Yes.
it's just going to help the whole area?
Right. So the one that
Okay.
we have is going to be at the lab is going to be more of a where you place it, it's going to focus, but then it's also going to create the bubble around you.
Gotcha.
So it does create a good field.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Wow. That's super interesting. I try to do some grounding any chance I get, whether it's in some sand, some grass, or the ocean occasionally.
Yeah.
And dude, I feel better after. But it's hard to find situations to do it in the city sometimes because you got asphalt everywhere. Maybe you don't have a backyard or whatnot. So having that option at Arctic Labs is pretty sweet.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. We're hoping to be able to bring people to that so they can experience what it really is to almost go back in time.
Yeah. And plus it's supercharged, like you said.
Yeah.
30 to what? 30 to 60
60
Gauss? Wow.
Mhm.
That's quite a bit more.
Yeah. And you'll see people nowadays with the copper bottoms on their shoes or copper blankets where they plug them into the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar, like they're doing some type of grounding.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Pretty sweet. Is there any other biohacking methods that you guys do that you want to dive into a little deeper?
Yeah. Oh, wow. We got a bunch of them. But I did think of another thing with the grounding.
Yeah.
So imagine you enjoy doing it over here, right? Like
Yeah.
you get to feel good. And that's off that real low rating. Imagine you went to a place like Egypt or even France. They have a very high magnetism rating.
Really?
And that goes back to the things like the pyramids, how those guys were being able to build certain things. There's a lot more magnetism in those areas. It was
Interesting.
really interesting studies out there.
I didn't realize it varied in different parts of the earth.
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Over there is going to be one of the highest. And then I think, again, where Stonehenge and some of the other main historical pieces were, that's where a lot of the magnetism was.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Isn't that cool?
Some ancient knowledge back then.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing.
Those guys were healthy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I think we lost a lot of ancient knowledge with history. Civilizations getting wiped out, the Library of Alexandria getting wiped out. Like, there's so much untapped knowledge out there. And then here recently, I'm reading this book about the Comanche, an Indian tribe. I'm like, dude, how much ancient knowledge did we lose from these cultures that have been practicing these like medicines and natural healing? It's
Yeah.
just gone.
No,
It's just gone.
I think they had it right.
Yeah.
They had it more right than we will ever hope to. I think we're kind of getting back to it over time. But who was it that said? I think it was Einstein who even said it. He said the future of medicine is going to be light and sound. So we're kind of moving into that right now,
Yeah.
with things like our red light therapy, infrared therapy, sound waves. They do certain sound waves that are actually good for calming, or certain sound waves now are proven to kill cancer cells. Those studies are just coming out right now.
Yeah. I've seen some stuff about that.
Yeah.
Those people better watch out, though.
Don't get on an airplane.
Yeah. No, definitely, dude. There's so much untapped potential in frequencies and light, like you just said. There's all these new studies and realizing about the frequencies. Like, we're constantly vibrating. Every cell in our body, every cell around us is vibrating. So it makes sense that you can manipulate stuff for better or worse using frequencies. So yeah, man, I'm super excited to see what the future has in store.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
So you got sauna. Let's talk a little bit about sauna. I love the sauna. It's one at my gym. I hit it every workout, non-negotiable. After getting a pump, it's just, it feels great.
Yeah.
Gets rid of my soreness, I feel like. And after that, I'll hop in a cold shower and it's like, ready to go.
Yeah.
Revival.
Saunas are incredible, man. Like you say, you're doing them after your workout, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the coolest things that you can do. So a lot of the studies on that are showing that if you do the sauna for even 15 minutes after your workout, it's kind of tricking your body to thinking it's still working out. So you're getting to actually sit and relax, but your heart rate stays up so high and you're opening up the veins with the vasodilation, that the blood flow continues as if you're working out. And so it's a good supplement to a workout to finish the day like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's great. And then the extra calorie burn you get on it, the average is between 200 to 400 calories just sitting in a sauna for 30, 40 minutes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've seen some studies, or Dr. Rhonda Patrick. I don't know if you heard from her.
She's great.
Yeah, she was saying something that like decreases your risk of all-cause mortality by like 30 or 50%.
Yeah.
Something crazy.
Yeah. The studies are all showing it's nearly 50%.
Wow.
And the protocol for that is going to be 16 minutes at 130 degrees plus for 3 times a week.
Wow.
It's such a light protocol.
Yeah, that's easy to do.
And it cuts all your diseases in half, basically.
Wow.
Cardiac diseases, especially.
That's nuts.
The saunas, not only are they good for, your heart health,
Mm-hmm.
that's their main benefit is going to be the heart health, inflammation reduction based on the vasodilation, right?
Okay.
But it's also great for people who have things like early onset dementia. Because what you're doing there is you're actually opening up the veins enough to where the blood can get up to the brain.
Wow.
You're delivering some oxygen up there. You're able to bring some blood flow and some oxygen so their brain can actually keep working how it should.
Wow.
There's a lot of things that people, I don't think, recognize when it comes to what we're talking about, biohacking natural modalities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cold, hot. We've been given it since the beginning of time. Right now, our bodies are never subject to it anymore. We're in our house, which is 70 degrees. We go to our car, which is 70 degrees. We go to the office, which is 70 degrees.
Yep.
And then vice versa, we get back home and it's all 70 degrees, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our bodies are kind of sitting in this stagnant place of never having to release the hormones, never having to open up the veins or do what it needs to do as it was made to. We're created to be subject to intense environments.
Absolutely.
And so just simply by getting in the sauna, we're almost mimicking being out in the desert
Mm-hmm.
without air conditioning, and your body adapts to that by healing. So there's so much benefits to the just biohacking in general that we're doing. We talk about magnetism. That's just taking your shoes off, right?
Yeah.
We talk about sauna. That's going outside in the summer, out in the desert. You talk about cold plunging. That's like how the ancients would go and take a bath, or not even ancients, 100 years ago, go and take a bath in the river.
Yeah.
Or they'd have to heat up some rocks if they really wanted some hot water. So,
Yeah.
we're just kind of going back to basics.
Totally.
There's a lot there.
I love that. Love that. What do you think about the old the myth where they say, don't go out in the cold after you've been exercising because you're too hot or whatever?
For your lungs, there can be some certain things.
Okay.
But I think other than that, your body's built to do it. We're not delicate beings. We're created to be very, very versatile, rugged. We can handle things like that. So I think it's fine. I think you're going to go outside, you're going to have a reaction, you're going to adapt. Makes you stronger.
Yeah. They always say you're going to get sick. That's what I'm like. I never had an issue with it. After a basketball game, I'd go right outside into the cold. I'm like, whatever.
I think you're fine. As long as you're not out there for a long, extended period of time, and you're getting that headwind on you, you're going to be fine. If you're just getting into the car, you're fine.
Yeah. And then now we're doing contrast therapy. Like, come on, this is contradicting here.
The contrast therapy is awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, so
we talked about that with Alex a bit.
Oh, good. Cool. I don't know what you guys talked about, but yeah, we've got what did you guys talk about?
Just going from the hot to the cold and the benefits from that. Inflammation was the main one that he mentioned, how it helps with inflammation, but also mental health.
Yes. Yeah, those are our big ones, as like we talked about. But yeah, going back from cold to the hot, you're vasoconstricting in the cold. So you're making those veins real tight, closed up, and you're sending it all to the heart. That's your reaction. Then in the heat, you're opening them back up. You're vasodilating. So you're almost, if you do it multiple times, you're creating this pump in your body. And so what that does is it's going to actually clear out anything that's in that bloodstream. A lot of it can be plaque, and it's not going to clear everything, obviously, but it's going to take good amounts of little pieces out that, could have built up over time. It's going to help definitely with sleep. You are exhausted after that. Your body just went through so much thermal transfer. You know, we're sending out heat, we're taking in heat, we're sending out heat. Your body
Yeah,
gets tired. And so when you're done, that night's sleep is going to be the best you ever had.
for sure.
Yeah, it's great.
Nice. Do you do that, or how often do you do that?
The contrast, so the cold plunging, I did it every day for a year. And then
Okay.
I almost started doing it twice a day.
Mm.
After a while, I kind of peeled back and did 4 times a week, things like that. And then once we had the hot tubs, that's the only way I'll do it now.
Really?
It mentally, it's a little easier when you know you're about to warm up, you
Fair,
know,
fair.
going from 37 and then back into the 104.
Yeah,
It's a little easier mentally.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. I've also heard like there's another side to it. It's a little different than the contrast therapy. I think it's more focusing on the cold, is letting your body heat itself back up.
Mhm.
And there's more benefits to that as well, as just instead of hopping in the hot tub, you're forcing your body to get back to baseline. So either way, you're good. There's benefits on both sides.
Yeah, there is. I mean, you've heard of Wim Hof, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Wim Hof is the Iceman. That's who people
Yep.
love to talk about, especially when it comes to cold or cold plunging.
And breathing.
He's huge on breathing. Yes, that's a huge thing too when you're in the plunge. You know, we at the lab, that's kind of something that we enjoy helping people with is the breathing, and that's the kind of environment that we have. You know, it's a private space, so we're able to coach them through some breathing, especially on their first session. Cold plunging is, in my opinion, an intimate experience. And you really want to just kind of be alone and quiet and being able to breathe through it because you're struggling.
Yeah.
You're hyperventilating at the beginning of it, you know? And if you can't get that breathing down because, I don't know, maybe it's in a gym setting and it's loud music or there's other people next to you doing it and they're making noise and
People watching you.
people watching you, and it's not private, and you're like, you don't want to look weird,
Yeah.
you know, you don't know what's going on. So at the lab, we have every room is private, and we breathe through it, and it's huge. You know, you're able with the nasal breathing. You said you're reading Comanche.
Yeah.
So the Apaches used to do something where they would hold water in their mouth while they're running. That's how they would train. And so it forced them to nasal breathe the entire way.
Wow.
And now we're finding out that nasal breathing is a great way for things like the dopamine uptake. And so that's a big part of cold plunging is dopamine release and nitrogen retention.
Wow. The power of the nasal breath.
Nasal
breathing.
is very, very powerful. A lot of us have dropped into that, you know, mouth breathing now, but nasal breathing is very powerful. That, you know, you see people taping their mouths now. It's becoming a thing at night.
I just threw this guy on right
Nasal
now.
strip, there you go.
I was a little congested before. I didn't want to be all plugged up while talking, but yeah, I've had allergies my whole life, so there's been times where I'm a mouth breather, you know.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to work on that myself. I did order some mouth tape. It hasn't come in yet. I'm gonna try it out, see what's the deal. But I'm seeing it can even affect your facial structure.
Yes.
Mouth breathing.
Yes. Yeah. When you're just that slack jaw, you know, you're not going to have that good muscle right here on the side being developed. Same with people who are only drinking shakes all day. You know, you
not
got to
chewing.
have some meat. You got to tear it. You got to use those muscles to develop that facial structure.
Is there any other biohacking methods you want to dive into?
Let's see. So we didn't talk about the oxygen, right?
We didn't hit oxygen or red light.
Cool. Oxygen. Let's talk about that one.
Let's hear it.
The oxygen therapy is incredible. Now,
Really?
if you ask me what's my favorite at the lab, it's going to be the oxygen therapy.
Really?
The cold is hard. Yes, I own Arctic Labs. It's freezing. Everything's great there. The oxygen is my absolute number one.
Really?
Yeah,
How so?
it's crazy. So the air that we're breathing now, just the ambient air, is running approximately 21% oxygen. And then there's everything else, right? With what we have over there, it's 100% pure HEPA filtered oxygen, right? So, and we're masking you completely. So you're not doing the cannules, which is over the nose, and you're breathing in the ambient air mixed in, and you know, that kind of drops that potency. So it's incredible. You're saturating your cells with 100% pure oxygen.
Wow.
They say that it's about 300 times the normal amount the body gets. And so with those things, it's more for cognitive health, right? So A lot of athletes, you'll see them doing it for performance based. You're flooding the cells, you have more oxygen, you can perform longer, right? Because the cells are almost like a lung. They still need oxygen to work. But mainly, we're pushing it up to the brain for things like traumatic brain injuries, depression, because it'll get rid of depression with the actual oxygen uptake.
Wow.
We are getting rid of things like dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, just because those are all based up there in the brain. Parkinson's not so much, that's more in the nerves. But we're working in the brain right there. We're giving it oxygen again so it can function. And there's not a lot of science that I've seen, there might be, but there's not a lot of science showing that it cures them, but it can help slow them in a dramatic fashion.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I enjoy it. It helps me just feel more energized for the day, puts me to sleep at night. It's a great feeling.
Well, yeah, we're just talking about nose breathing, and that helps with your oxygen intake. Well, how about you supercharge it with 300% or 300 times more oxygen?
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
So for you, whenever you do that, what does it feel like? Do you feel it instant right after?
I do. Yeah. Yeah. So
What do you feel?
most people are going to feel it while they're on oxygen. You might get a little dizzy. It's a ton of oxygen. But afterward, if you can get through the session, you're just going to feel almost hyper-focused. So your whatever task you had for the day, you're going to be very, very focused for that. You're going to have this energy that doesn't feel like a coffee or an energy drink, but it's going to feel like you've just been supercharged for the day. Like you're ready naturally with no come down.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty good.
It's very good.
Might have to give it a try.
I love it. Yeah, it's great.
So right on. How about red light therapy?
Cool. Red light therapy. Let's see. We have a lot of people who enjoy that. So I think there's some confusion between red light therapy and infrared. Now, infrared is going to be that invisible light that penetrates through the body, right? And that's why we keep our stuff at a certain temperature. The red light is the actual red light. It's coming out at a certain frequency as well, but it's going to be 660 and 880 nanometers. That's the typical red light dosing, or whatever it's called. Frequencies. Basically, it's going to be things for your skin, your hair, your nails, collagen production for the skin, so skin tightening. We have some clients who use it for eczema or rosacea, some for acne. It just helps penetrate into there and stimulate those cells in a certain way that they calm down. A lot too for reversing the effects of blue light. So people like yourself on the computer editing after a video like this, you're staring at that screen, and most people aren't using blue light glasses to block that. You're going to have that eye strain, you're going to have the headache, it's going to make it hard to sleep. With the red light, it's going to reverse that. Calms the eyes down, calms the muscles down in the eye, allows you to go back to bed.
Wow. Yeah, I actually got myself a red light not too long ago. It's just like a little square one.
Good.
But I'm using it at night before bed, and dude, I swear it's helping my acne scars.
Yeah.
I used to have bad acne and finally healed that. Well, now I was like, oh, maybe I can do something about the scarring now, because I always was hesitant to do anything because I'm like, it's still coming back. What's the point in trying to fix it if I got more acne coming? But I think I got the acne under control now. So I was like, let's do something for the scarring. So I got like one of those derma beard rollers.
Oh, yeah, cool.
So I've been using that kind of like micro needling.
Right.
And then after that, before bed, I'll lay there like reading for like 15 minutes with the red light on my face. I swear it's helping with the scars, dude. I looked at some before and after pics, and one of those two are helping, maybe the combination. I'm also taking collagen protein, which helps with skin as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm going to keep doing it.
That combo you're doing is perfect. The derma rolling is causing those little micro injuries to the skin.
Yes.
And forcing it to heal. And then you've got the red light, which is speeding up that healing process. And then you've got the collagen protein that you're taking. That's actually going internal. So you're doing 2 topicals and 1 internal. Yeah, that's a perfect combo.
Sweet, man. Yeah. Like I said, I can feel the difference. So I'm going to keep doing it. If it completely clears it up, I'm going to definitely make a video on that. Cool. But we'll see. I've been liking it so far. And like you said, maybe it's a systematic thing and getting my brain ready for bed. Like once I kick that red light on, it like helps my body start winding down.
Hmm.
But that's already my routine now. So maybe it's just like, okay, it's bedtime.
Right.
The red light's on, let's wind down.
Right. That's why they say don't put a TV in your bedroom, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have your TV in your room, your body still thinks it's going to be awake.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the room without a TV and it says, okay, this is the place I can sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. So we kind of touched on your vision for starting Arctic Labs with trying to help your mom, and there was no solutions around, so you created the solution. So can we talk a little bit more about the entrepreneurial aspects of starting a company and what that was like? Like you started from nothing, I assume, and just built a company. So there's not too many people that do that. I'd love to hear some insights on that journey.
Yeah, man, it's a journey. That's a good word for it. It is not a straight shot to success. It is a journey. I mean, when I was living in LA, I had a clothing line that I tried to start. And so this isn't my first business. I have failed quite a bit. I had a clothing line that I tried. It was seemingly doing great, but the focus wasn't there. It fell off. I tried again with a gym here locally. It was called Rise. It was pretty cool. Again, it just didn't happen for certain reasons. There's always an excuse that we could make, but ultimately it just wasn't in the books and I didn't give it the attention it needed. Whereas this one, Arctic Labs, was something that had, like you were saying, the passion behind it because it was more than just starting a business. This one was to actually help, and not just help my own mom, but anyone that wanted to come to the lab. So it's no joke, but I was kind of used to the business aspect since I had the other ones prior.
You had some experience.
Right. So I had the knowledge of how to create an LLC,
Mm-hmm.
the knowledge of how to trademark something, a name, a logo. I had never worked with employees before. All my stuff was kind of on my own. So that was a challenge to understand all of that. And it still is a challenge. You're dealing with people. But yeah.
What are some challenging aspects of dealing with people?
Oh, personalities.
Personalities
Always. Yeah. And you've got to kind of learn how to, speak with different personalities. Some people, you can be direct. Other people, you've got to be a little softer. And that's going to be a challenge for everyone always,
Being able to read the person and adapt to their personality.
Yes. And over time, you get there. But I think the biggest challenge was really getting it going. The funding for it, the financing for it is, for something like this, it's not a inexpensive start. These machines are very costly. Build outs are very costly. Luckily, I had been doing a lot of work locally in town with real estate, with flips and renovation projects. So I had a lot of connections to contractors and people who could help, build this place up physically. And then the finance part that was probably a very difficult part.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you did some flips before that?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
How
I've
many
done
flips?
Quite a few of them. Man, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but it's a lot.
Dang.
We did a lot of good ones.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Enough to lose count. That's pretty good.
It was. Yeah, it was really good. I've done some big apartment complexes.
Whoa.
I did one that was a 20 unit.
Dang.
I did another complex that was a 12 unit. I flipped one that was an 8 unit. The 8 unit was probably one of my more favorites because I, used a little bit more high end stuff since it was a smaller count.
Gotcha.
And then just a house or two.
Do you have any that you've kept, or did you flip them all?
I had them, yeah, but I did. I'd renovated them, kept them for a time, had some good cash flow on them, and then got rid of them.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
What got you into flipping?
I just like doing something where you see something either ugly or that's non-existent and putting it into existence. So I think just the creative aspect of my mind, or what I like to do, found that in real estate.
Awesome.
So I was able to take something that no one can see as like, it's been here for 60 years and no one's changed anything. So why not take it and make it something nice?
Wow.
You know?
Yeah, no, I'm super interested in real estate as well. I've got my first rental property out in Dallas where I used to live.
Oh,
I
good.
bought that house, lived in it for a while, rented out individual rooms so I could afford the mortgage in the meantime, moved out, and then now I got a family living in there.
I love it.
But I'm trying to figure out another way to get some more real estate, and flipping is a great avenue. One of the things I love about it is, like you're saying, you take something that's in a rough shape and you fix it up to something better. But also during that process, you create equity, which is like creating money out of thin air almost.
Right. Right. It takes money to make it, but yeah, you're forcing the appreciation. That's what they're calling it. It's forced appreciation, right? So you're adding value to something. And you could see a building that's worth 230 grand, you put 30 grand into it, now you're all in at 260, but it values out at 320.
Yeah.
You're able to actually pull some money from there.
Yeah.
What you did was smart. Renting out the rooms, that's house hacking.
Yeah. House hacking.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So you follow Bigger Pockets?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brandon and
Yes,
all those
sir.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the guys that got me into it, dude.
Good.
House hacking was my path to my first property.
I love it.
Thanks to those guys. So shout out Brandon Turner.
Yeah. Next one you got to do is a fourplex then, because
Yeah.
that's still residential.
Yeah. Dude, that was my goal initially, was to do a fourplex house hack, but I couldn't find any
Here in town.
in Dallas where
That's
I was.
a hard one.
Yeah.
And those are pricey.
Yeah,
It's a bigger
exactly.
market.
But now here I've been looking, and it's hard to find good ones here too. So it'd have to be like a fixer-upper type quadplex.
I met with one of my buddies the other night. He had asked me some questions about real estate, and he was saying, are there deals right now? And I said, yeah, there's going to be a deal in any market, whether it's
always deals.
a recession or a depression or a seller's market or whatever. There's always a deal somewhere. Now, it did get harder after COVID, because now people are expecting COVID prices, and those are massively inflated for these buildings that really aren't worth what they're wanting.
Yeah.
So it's definitely harder to find a deal, but you can find one.
No doubt.
They're there.
Yeah, like you said, those prices have not come down.
No, they're going up.
Yeah.
And the interest rates, they still haven't really budged. They moved a little tiny bit, but not anything dramatic.
Yeah. And when the interest rates drop, the prices are going to go up even higher.
That's what I try and tell everyone. I'm like, if you're going to get something, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it now. Because if those rates do drop, even if it's by a 1 or 2%, the price is going to go up.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's definitely harder to get in now. And that kind of paused my aggression on the real estate. Like I was like all in there for a bit. And then I'm like, dude, it's hard to get in right now.
Yeah.
Hard to get in. You got to almost find like an owner finance type situation or stack up some cash.
Yeah.
But there, like you said, with the flips, you can do a couple flips or wholesales, build up that cash, and then you can go get you a rental property or something like that. Or in your case, start a business.
Right. Yeah. My first real estate deal, the flip, was an owner carry.
Okay.
Yeah. It was for the eightplex.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the
How'd
owner,
you pull that off?
he was ready to be done with the property.
Okay.
It was pretty bad.
But how'd you find him or find out about the property?
Man, I called so many people.
Really?
I was just
You're
driving
cold
around.
calling.
Yeah. Calling. Couldn't
Driving
find
for
anything.
dollars.
Yeah, exactly. I wish they had that thing Brandon talked about, Deal Machine, where you kind of have someone drive for you and it tells you if you find a deal.
Uh-huh.
Didn't have that. So it was good though. Yeah, I eventually was driving around, and I don't know how long it took me, but I saw a sign, and this one had a sign, and I called it and I said, hey, would you own or carry? They said, yeah.
Whoa.
So, and it was a crazy deal too. I think they only wanted like 4% down or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
It was very low for an owner.
There you go. Yeah.
It was
So that's how you can get in on a multi-unit right there.
You just got to call. You can't be afraid to hear no. What's the worst thing to say? They're going to yell at you, cuss you out, and tell you no.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Call
On
the
to
next
the
day.
next.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a great point, though, you brought up. It's hard to get a loan when you don't have a solid or a consistent source of income.
Mm-hmm.
And flipping properties, it's not consistent.
Right. It's not. It's not consistent.
Yeah.
You can make 40 grand on one flip and then lose 20 grand on another one,
Yeah.
you know?
Wow.
So you got to run those numbers.
For sure. So you got started, your first location. Where was that one at?
That was on El Paseo. So
El
that's
Paseo.
here in town on El Paseo Road next to Planet Fitness.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you got that one going. And what was that like first starting out?
Day one, I was expecting no one to come in. Day one, I opened the door. I don't even know if I had it on social media yet. And I was flooded with people. I think
Really?
we had like 10 people who were just walking by. Oh, what's this? What's this?
Oh,
It was cool. You know, it was
Wow.
the first of its kind in town.
yeah.
No one had seen it. And so it was a blessing. You know, we're blessed with that. You know, we pray a lot. So our faith is grounded in Jesus, and that's where we believe everything has come from.
Wow.
You know? So without Jesus or our faith or any of that, I really, really don't think this would have even been close to the success that it reached.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, you're expecting no one. You open the doors first day and people are just coming in.
Yeah.
So it's
great.
like, whoa, we need to get to work. Or
I
like,
didn't know what to do.
yeah.
I had it all. It was planned in my head. It was, in theory, it was all ready. And, you know, first person, how do I sign up for membership? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me figure that out real quick. Hold on.
No,
That's cool.
that's an interesting aspect as well. As like, hey, you're starting a business. There's no manual.
No.
You got to figure it out on your own. Like,
Yep.
everything.
Yeah. There's a great quote from Alex Ramosi who says, starting a business is like running a marathon, but you're learning how to run it as you're running the marathon. You know, you don't train for it. You're learning how to do it as you're running. Alex, I don't know if I messed that up. So your quote's way better than that, but it's all.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
What did it feel like when you got those doors opened up and people came in, dude?
It was cool. It was a surreal feeling.
Yeah.
To see someone coming into a business that, you know, we created or
Your vision.
came up from the depths of my mind, you know. There was nothing, like I said, there was nothing really like it in the nation yet. It was up and coming. And so seeing people come in and being interested in it, or even having done similar stuff in places like Alaska, and they're visiting and they're saying, oh, we jump in the lakes out there.
Yeah.
This is so cool in the desert. You know, it was cool. It was really, really interesting.
You know, it was actually the first cold plunge I'd seen ever, I think, was some people posting Arctic Labs on their story, hopping in a cold plunge. I was like, whoa, we have that here in town?
Mm.
And my first cold plunge was in Colorado during the winter, hopping in the river.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the polar plunging is wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is wild.
Crazy, dude. But then seeing that in Las Cruces, I was like, whoa, that's pretty sweet. Pretty sweet.
Yeah. It was a great feeling. And, you know, getting to see all the people and meet the people of the town, and you don't really get to see who's in this town unless you have something like that, or you're putting on an event or something. But there are so many good people in this town, and
Wow.
interesting people. The stories that I've heard are just incredible, from the travels and the families and the businesses they've owned and run. And it's really cool. We have a great mixing pot over here.
For sure. For sure. So what did you do to start developing systems? Like you said, when you first started off, it was chaos. Like you didn't know what to do. It's just like, let's figure it out as we go. I assume you developed some systems along the way to help make these processes easier. What was that like?
Yeah. So kind of like that quote that I messed up from Alex Ramosi, you're learning as you go.
Uh-huh.
Even if you do all the studies and you read the books and it teaches you how to set a business plan and whatnot, everyday life comes in and throws a wrench, and you've got to learn how to deal with that. So it's really just, you take it as it comes.
Trial and error.
Trial and error. You take it as it comes, and then you set one thing in place, find out a week later it's not working too well. You pivot, you change it a little bit, you refine, and it gets better and better over time, to where it's been almost 3 years now of being open. And I think just now we're kind of landing into a good standards of practice. They call it SOPs, you know, where we know exactly what we're doing every day. We make sure it's done every day, and it's running smooth.
Nice.
It takes a long time. And I'm sure even now we're going to run into things in year 5, year 6, year 7, where we've never seen it and we got to figure out how to fix it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So you got 3 locations now?
No.
2?
I had 2.
Okay.
Yeah. I closed the one we talked about, the original one.
Uh-huh.
I'm planning to close that one down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to get everyone into one spot now.
Okay.
For me, it's a little easier because I have 2 daughters. I'm a single dad, and mentally I'm able to focus more on one location,
For sure.
less employees.
You're there.
I'm there. I know what's going on. I don't have to think, oh, did something happen over here that I don't know about? How are things running? I need to go back and forth. It's a much better mental space for one location. And now I'm able to really, really just dedicate the time evenly and proportionately.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's the HQ there on Loman.
Yeah, that's the one.
HQ. Right on.
Yeah.
Sweet. What made you pick that area?
It's a great spot.
It is a good spot.
I looked all over town, and I was hoping to be somewhere up in the newer area, the Highway 70 type area. But man, they were charging, we're talking about real estate, right? They were charging California prices per square foot.
Really?
It was a lot. And understandably, because they have the big box people coming in.
Yeah.
They've got the big names, Verizon, T-Mobile, the ones who don't really care.
Uh-huh.
They just need another footprint. So
There is a lot of stuff going up over there right now.
Mhm. Man, real estate, imagine buying an acre of land up there 10 years ago. I know. Buy it for 20 grand 10 years ago, and now it's worth $1 million per acre.
Yeah.
Wild. But no, I just, I landed on this one. It was an empty location. I knew the guy. His name was Alan. I had called him and asked him if he had anyone looking. He said no. And I said, this is perfect. And we went back and forth. I did some drawings. I do a lot of my own architecture drawings to make
Really?
sure. Yeah, I don't like when I send it out to someone because they usually get it wrong for what's in my head.
Uh-huh.
So I take the time to draw all my own concepts, all my own layouts, and then I even go into the computer and do my own 3Ds to
Really?
make sure this is what we're doing
Huh. Where'd you learn all that?
over time. Yeah.
YouTube?
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. YouTube taught me everything, man. Everything.
Yeah.
I've been doing different things since I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Forever.
YouTube University.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
you don't need a degree unless you're gonna be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that.
Where you actually need the paper.
That's the one.
Yeah.
It'll teach you everything, man. Photoshop, video editing, how to 3D something, how to use Procreate for drawing, everything.
Yeah. It's such a powerful tool that we have access to that. I mean, I tell people, I'm like, hey, we are living in the time of YouTube. You can learn any skill you want.
Mm-hmm.
Anything. It's at your fingertips. All you got to do is do it.
Yeah, but that's the big part.
Yeah.
People don't do it.
Yeah, that's true.
That night they get home, they sit down, Netflix,
Video games.
video games.
Yeah.
They don't want to sit there and learn. And then even if they learn, they don't want to sit there and then practice.
True.
And then practice even more.
Yeah. Most people, they got to really have a passion for it. Because like you said, it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
There's a new show out.
Yeah, exactly.
Video games.
They're going to fall into that more than trying to create something.
Yeah.
You're either a consumer or a creator. The middle ground isn't really there.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That is a great point. And most people fall into consumer.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to those people that are thinking about switching over into creating something?
Man, if you're going to do it, do it. Do it now.
Why?
Time's not waiting. You're not getting younger. Someone else is going to do it if you don't. And even if they do, at least you're going to be doing it alongside them. Then you can see who's better. Have a little competition, There's Facebook and there's MySpace. Same time zone. Which one pushed harder? Just do it. If you have an idea, put it out there. Who knows? It might be the next best thing. You're sitting in an apartment right now wondering, paycheck to paycheck. Then all of a sudden you come up with this thing and you actually dedicate rather than watching Netflix. Retire in 10 years. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. One of my good buddies, Richie, had him on the podcast as well. He was making almost 200K at a car dealership, and he quit, started a business.
Cool.
And it's a landscaping business, which I know that's not what he's got in store. But I was like, hey, I know there's something bigger coming, but he's getting the experience now.
Mm-hmm.
He's building a business, learning how to work with the people, hiring employees, managing them, and managing the numbers. He's learning all these skills that he's going to be able to adapt to his future business that I know is coming.
Right.
So, but he took action and did it.
I love it.
And that's where it's like, hey, sometimes it's scary. It's like to leave that comfort. It's like, oh, I mean, you didn't have the comfort, which is a little different. You were out there scrapping for making real estate deals and whatever you could. So that's a little different. Like you were hustling from the start.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always had to do something to keep going. You know, my family was not, they're not extremely wealthy, but we've always been comfortable, you know, but not to the point where we're starting businesses. You know, you have to be able to take a risk. And even my parents, they're not risk takers. I had plenty of business ideas that were rejected plenty of times. But, you know, you got to be able to take that risk and do it.
Yeah.
And see what happens. Who knows?
For sure.
Might fail in 5 years, 7 years. Competition comes in. Who knows? But then what are you going to do? You're going to stay down? No. You can do something else and figure it out.
Yeah. The way I look at it, the only way you fail is if you give up.
Mm-hmm.
Just adapt, get up, try again, make an adjustment. And maybe your business goes bankrupt. Try again.
Try again.
Make an adjustment.
Yeah.
Now you got the experience. You know what worked. You know what didn't work. Let's apply that on the next phase and try again.
Mm-hmm. You know how many of those millionaires and billionaires have gone bankrupt, have failed multiple businesses?
I assume most of them.
Nearly all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nearly all of them. When you hear the interviews of what they've gone through, most of them had a point of being broke. And the reason they're at where they are now is what you just said. They didn't stop. They failed, but they got up. You know, that even comes back to biblical talk, you know, where it says you might fall 7 times, but you get up. So you just keep getting up. Don't stop. And you're going to find success.
Powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Very powerful. You mentioned in there that you're a dad, single dad. I am as well. So
Are you
single
really?
dad gang.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. What's it like being a dad?
Man, that's the best.
Dude.
You know.
Yeah.
That's the best thing that could have ever happened.
Absolutely.
Those girls, they changed my life. So, and for the better.
Yeah.
They're incredible. We get to play piano every day. They're at the age now where we're doing that, right? We're playing piano every day. They're in singing lessons. I take them to gymnastics. They come to the lab and they do their cold plunging and their hot
Really?
plunging. Oh, yeah.
Do they get in the cold plunge?
They're crazy. They get in, they jump in and they do a little slam into it and they get into the hot one and they say, oh, the tingles. I love the tingles.
That's awesome.
They love it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
They're cool.
Yeah, no, it's the best, man. The best. Like you said, I wouldn't be half the person I am today if it weren't for my son.
Mm-hmm.
So blessings.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I don't know what I would be doing without my daughters. Honestly, it's almost like when we talk about going back to basics, it's almost like a biological thing just clicks in a man's head where it says, okay, I need to change.
Yeah.
I need to do something. I've got someone to protect.
Yep.
I've got someone to raise and teach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A click.
It's a click.
It wasn't there before and now boom.
The second you see their eyes, or even before that, when you hear a heartbeat,
Yeah.
the second it happens, your body naturally just hits it.
Yeah.
And it says, okay, we're doing something.
For sure. And I feel like so many people in today's society are scared to have kids. Like, I feel like society's pressuring us to not have kids.
Yeah.
And man, I'm like, I want more.
Dude, I'm telling you.
Hopefully with a wife this time.
Yeah. That's what it comes down to, though. You know, we're talking about these millionaires and success and business and whatnot. All of that's great and dandy. You know, it's amazing to have something of your own that you create and make some money. But when it comes down to it, none of that matters.
No.
You're going to wish you had more time with your kids when they were little. You're going to wish you had more time even when they're older. You know, you're going to say, oh, I made all this money, but didn't get to hang out. So that's where the balance comes in, you know.
Sure.
That's kind of the cool thing with Arctic Labs is the way that I've built it is it's an owner absentee. So I don't have to be there. You know, I've got a manager and I've got the employees who know exactly what to do. And if they need help, they just give me a call or they send me a text. But I get to be there for the girls, dropping them off at school, picking them up, working out with them, taking them swimming nearly every day. You know, we get time. Now, could I make more at the lab if I had more focus? Yeah, probably. For sure, actually. But is it going to be worth it? No. Never.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Glad you got those priorities right. Like,
dude, I was crying in the car this morning. We had music on that I have a little playlist for them, and one of the songs came on that we used to listen to when they were little, and I think it made me tear up right now. We were listening to it, and I looked back and I said, "Do you remember when we used to sing this every day?" And they both looked at me. They're like, "Yeah," and they started laughing, and I was like, "You girls are gonna make me cry." And I was like,
man.
"It's just something so simple." It was a song.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the greatest beauties of life. Children.
Yeah.
That relationship. What's it like being a single father? What are some of the challenges?
I think it's I wouldn't say they're challenges, but I think the biggest thing is if the business requires me to be there, or I have a call out from an employee, or something happens where it needs my personal attention, that's the hardest part.
Gotcha.
Because then I have to, you know, call my mom.
Yeah.
And, hey, can you come and watch them real quick? Or can you take them this morning? I have to be over here at the lab. I'd say that's the biggest thing. Other than that, man, I think all of it's great, you know.
Dude, it's not that hard.
It's not. People make it seem like it's freaking rocket science. It's not.
It's not.
You just spend time, you know.
Yeah.
And you get up and you play and you spend time. You read a book with them. You read 10 books with them. You draw something with them. You talk to them. That's a huge thing that people don't seem to want to do with their kids. They throw them on a TV or they throw them on an iPad. You see people at restaurants who have their kid on an iPad and a phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, put the phone down.
Can't stand that.
I've never had an iPad or a phone at the table for them.
Yeah, no.
And if they try and grab mine, I snag it and put it back down.
Yep. Yeah, same here. And most kids nowadays, they're addicted to those devices, which it's understandable. I mean, it's crazy dopamine just blasting them constantly. But yeah, those family times, especially like meal gatherings, like that's important time, dude. You gotta put the electronics away for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, my son's not allowed to have that at the table.
Good.
No way.
That's really good.
Yeah.
At the house, we watch something at dinner time. They get to watch something called Minnow. Have you heard of Minnow?
No.
It's really cool. It's this it's like a Christian Netflix for kids.
Interesting.
Oh, it's so cool.
Really?
They've got things like a show called Young David or Dead Sea Squirrels.
Interesting.
It is just
Dead
the coolest.
Sea Squirrels.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like these little squirrels who are from the Dead Sea, but they talk about the Bible and stuff. I don't know. It's cool.
It's like a improved version of VeggieTales.
Yeah, and it's actually really good.
Yeah.
They have these songs that are like inspired by Teddy Swims, but they make them sound like their own. Oh, it was really cool.
Minnow.
Minnow.
We'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Sweet.
We watched that for a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's I love when I get another dad on here so we can talk about that because it's an important part of me and who I am. So like finding someone else that can share that, it's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, it really is. We get to and this is a bigger part of enjoying life. You know, when we're in our 20s or whatever, got to do whatever you wanted to do. And now you see it and you say, okay, that was cool. But there's no way I'm going to do that again. There's no way I'm going back to being without family.
Yeah.
You know, this is all that matters.
Totally. Totally.
The girls, they do go to the lab though. They use it. They use
That's
the
awesome.
sauna. They use the plunges. They use the gym that we've got, and we're building up on that too.
Yeah.
Hmm.
How's that looking?
It's looking really cool.
Yeah.
It's
What you
not
got
a
right now?
it's not a big gym. It's more of a private members only fitness facility, right? Right now we have everything that you need. We've got racks, selectorized equipment, but we're busting out some walls right now and adding in a lot of good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Sweet. That's exciting.
Yeah. We're
Bigger.
in no way a gym.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
in no way a full-on commercial gym, but it's enough for the person who is uncomfortable in a commercial setting.
Mm.
You know, they don't like being around a lot of people, a lot of eyes on them. You know, they're a little uncomfortable with how they work out because they're not used to it or something like that.
That's a great point.
We're the place for them, where it's private, it's quiet, super clean, and you don't have to worry about people.
And you got a trainer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there
Yeah.
you go. You got some personal training there as well. Help them get their form dialed in, get more comfortable working out before they go try a actual gym or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they just stay there because they like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people love when they're on their own.
Yeah.
They throw their headphones on, they're able to focus. They don't worry about guys looking at them if they're a girl. They don't worry about looking at other people. They don't worry about judgments of their form, you know. But it is a great spot for personal training too, though, like what you're talking about.
Get that one-on-one
Mm-hmm.
isolated. Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Very sweet. Reminds me of like a decked out home gym.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, if we could describe it, it's like a very large, high-end hotel.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
You know how they've got some stuff?
Yeah.
We've
All
got
the essentials.
We've got everything though.
True.
We've got even more than the essentials.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what do you have in store for the future of Arctic Labs?
There's a lot. There is a master plan and a big vision for it. I don't know that I'll share all of it, but one of the ones that is public already that people know is that we actually are able to franchise now. So working with attorneys and getting all the paperwork completed, we're able to now franchise Arctic Labs across the nation. So
Wow.
that's always kind of been the goal, is taking it national and being able to pop one up in Florida, in Arizona, in wherever, you know,
LA,
in LA. That'd
the
be
old
great.
stomping grounds.
Yeah. And that's the big plan for it, is to continue to expand it and be able to push the mental health aspects across the nation in a form that is different from what people are used to.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, I don't know how I forgot the clothing line.
Oh,
We are launching the clothing line very soon. So
Okay.
we've already got maybe a fifth of the items of the SKUs that we have, and we're talking about things like shirts and hats and joggers, bags, things like that. We're not just doing merch. This is going to be the
functional
next,
gear.
right. The next part of this is going to be a national brand
Okay.
to take out there.
Nice.
So God willing,
Yeah.
you know?
Hey, the second try.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got some experience from the first one, and now you got a business back in it.
Right. Yeah. This one's quite a bit different. It's got some movement already, which is nice.
Awesome. We talked about this off camera. You said back in the day you were an actor.
Yeah.
What was that like? Or when did you start acting?
That was fun. I enjoyed film. In kindergarten, I actually wrote a letter to myself saying,
Really?
someday you're going to be an actor.
Epic.
And they mailed it to me after graduation of high school.
What?
Weirdest thing.
Your
I didn't.
teacher?
Yeah.
That's
I
sweet.
guess they saved all of them to mail after you graduate high school.
That's cool.
And so I have that letter and it still said that. And so I think I was 14. I went to this scouting event. I can't remember what, Pro Scout. It was called Pro Scout. And I actually got scouted there and got my first agent. He's up in New York. And I did a monologue from Marlon Brando on the waterfront. He's an old actor, black and white movie. He was a boxer in the film.
Huh.
And so I did my monologue there and it was cool. So I was 14. I think that's when I got my first agent.
Sorry, I don't know any of the lingo in the acting field, like agent. What did you say you did?
A monologue?
A monologue?
Yeah. Agents are just the ones who they represent you and they kind of send you out on films to audition for.
Gotcha. They go find you some work.
Right. And a monologue is, it's usually a thicker piece of script that's a single person, not necessarily a dialogue, but just a single person's speech that they give.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Within a film?
Usually within a film or
Okay.
a play.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like a scene, just you talking. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So what was that like?
It was fun.
Yeah.
That was nerve-wracking the first time I ever did that. That was nerve-wracking. I did some plays coming up after that, like local theaters and plays. But then one of my friends, I think when I was 18, she helped me take some photos and they were like my first modeling photos. And Instagram was new at the time. And I remember posting one up and it just popped off. It got popular real quick. And so when that happened, I got reached out to by a few agents, which was awesome.
Wow.
And I was able to do some pretty big gigs for modeling. And so I just made the move. I moved out to LA, didn't know anyone out there. I ended up rooming I was in an acting class and I met this guy and I said, "Hey man, do you know anyone who has a spare room? I need to move out here. I don't know anyone." And he said, "Oh, my brother's got one." I said, "Well, oh, cool. Let's do it." And so I met his brother and I was looking at him and I said, "Man, you look so familiar." And then it clicked. And I said, "You're Donnie Stevens." So he was on Even Stevens. He was Shia LaBeouf's older brother.
Huh.
On the show for however many years it ran, 7 years, 8 years, something like that. I said, "Bro, I used to watch you on Disney Channel."
Wow.
And he's all, "Yeah, man, that's cool." And at the time he owned businesses and he had still dabbled in acting here and there, but he owned a bunch of businesses at that point. And so we ended up living together. And from there it was just, audition after audition, thousands of rejections till finally get one thing, two things.
Wow. So was he kind of like a mentor for you?
Not really.
No?
We didn't hang out or talk too much, but it was still cool getting to live with someone who had found great success in the industry.
Yeah.
Because he really did. He did a great job with that and a lot of other films that he was in.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. He was actually more of a, he helped me more with work because he owned a lot of farmers markets. And so that was the job that I ran when I was there. I would set up and break down all the farmers markets. And
Really?
then in between those, after, we set them up, and then I'd wait and clean things and throw trashes, put tables away at the end. And these are not Las Cruces style farmers markets. These are huge, massive farmers markets. They were so many vendors. And so it would take
LA,
all day.
right?
Yeah, to set up and break down. So yeah, he gave me a job. That's what I did.
Nice.
Personal trained on the side.
Sweet.
Yeah.
What are some things you learned from your acting career?
Rejection. How to take rejection. That comes into business too.
Yeah.
You're going to hear no so many times.
Uh-huh.
You're going to get rejected by nearly everyone. And like we were talking about, it's almost like falling. You just got to get back up and go out and do it again. Go out and do it again, do it again, do it again. I don't know how many rejections, how many no's I got until I booked my first commercial,
Wow.
So,
Just keep trying.
yeah.
Feels like that's the theme of the podcast.
Yeah, just
Keep trying.
don't stop. Just keep doing something.
Awesome. Love that. Got a few closing questions and we'll wrap this thing up.
Cool.
What are your top 3 favorite books?
Ooh, okay. There's one by Jocko. I don't know why I can't
Jocko.
remember it
Oh.
right now.
Extreme Ownership?
Extreme Ownership.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good
So
one.
Extreme Ownership is definitely up there in my top 3. If you haven't read it, or if you guys haven't read it, read that book.
Yeah, that was a good
That
one.
will teach you immediately how to become successful.
Yeah.
Anything that
Take
happens.
ownership.
Yeah. Even if it's not your fault, figure out how you could have made that happen in a better way. You know,
Uh-huh.
extreme ownership is a great one for mental structure. I can't remember what Brandon's book is called. Rental Properties.
Oh, he has a few.
He has a lot of them. Yeah.
Investing in rental
Investing in
properties
rental
with zero
properties.
money down.
Yeah.
That was one of them.
I would say that's in the top 3, simply because it teaches you a lot about obstacles and how to overcome them. Not
Yeah.
just in real estate, but finding a way to make something happen.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Opening your eyes to the creativity
Right.
that can be used in real estate.
Yeah. And then that opens up for everything. If you can be creative in real estate, you can be creative in whatever, you know,
True.
Find a solution. Yeah. So extreme ownership, one of Brandon's books for real estate. Is it cliche if I actually put the Bible in there as the number one?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I've had quite
I
a
didn't
few.
know, yeah, what you would expect, you know, with business type stuff.
It's one of the best for ancient wisdom there is.
I'm telling you, the Bible, and it really does. It teaches you even business and investing and how to manage money, being a good steward of your business or your money, you know, which I was not the best at in my younger days. I'm getting better. But yeah, it goes back to even that, you know, the parable of the talents. You give the guy 1 talent, he buried it in the dirt. You gave the guy 2 talents and another guy 5 talents. The guy with 2 ended up making 4. The guy with 5 ended up making 10. He comes back and he says to the guy who would put the 1 in the ground, he says, "What'd you do with it?" "Oh, I saved it because I didn't want to lose it." He ends up taking the talent from him and giving it to the guy who made 10. He said, "Why am I going to give you more if you're doing nothing with it?
Wow.
I want you to grow, to invest, to spread." So there's a lot of good in there.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people get turned off from it because they think it's a book about religion, but it's not a book about religion.
No, that book is literally the Word of God. That is a relationship book. That is a life book. That is a how to live book. It's a piece of a historical figure who actually lived, and it's the book of life. I don't know where you stand. I don't know where you
Yeah.
stand on it, but man, that is the way. If you have any questions in life, it's got every single answer for everything: relationships, business, sadness, anger, anything you can think of. It has the perfect answer and wisdom.
That's awesome.
You know, look at Elon Musk. He read the Bible. He was on the Babylon podcast even saying, "Oh yeah, I believe." And so they actually asked him if he believed in Jesus, and he said, "Yeah."
Really?
Mark Zuckerberg has read the Bible, and he didn't read, I think he's Jewish, but he read it saying that there was so much wisdom in it. It was the best thing to read.
Wow.
It's an incredible, you know, it's actually the Word of God. It's not just words.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've always gone to church since a young age, so I'd get the Bible readings here and there. I've never actually read it from cover to cover, but that is something that I'm working on right now. I finally said, you know what? I need to read it from cover to cover because I've never done that before and be able to connect the dots.
Yeah.
And dude, there's already been so much that I've learned just from the Old Testament. I can't wait to get to the gospel.
Oh man,
Yeah.
you're going to love it.
For sure.
The Old Testament's intense.
Yeah, very,
Oh my
very
gosh,
intense.
it's intense.
Yeah. But there's another thing that I've been doing lately, and it's a pretty cool tool using ChatGPT.
For the Bible.
I'll explain my scenario that I'm in or a conflict I'm trying to work out, and then I'll ask it to give me Bible verses that best reflect
Whoa.
the situation. It'll pop out like 10 of them that apply to my scenario.
Whoa.
It's been pretty sweet.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Because like sometimes you can't really think of which ones apply, you know, you gotta just find them, right? Or unless you have them memorized
Right.
already, built in. So that's a quick way to get some stuff that you can apply right then and there.
I've never thought of using ChatGPT like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I've been liking it.
Have you downloaded the Bible app,
Yes.
the brown one?
Yeah.
That one's pretty cool too. You can type in like sad or something,
Really?
and it'll bring up all kinds of verses.
Oh, wow.
And then you can click it and say, read the whole chapter.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I haven't used it like that, but good to know.
That's the ones so my girls have the Bible app for kids,
Uh-huh.
and it's so cool. They get to learn a lot.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
You're instilling that at such a young age.
Dude, you have to.
Making them read. I seen on your story you have them read books.
Oh, man. Dude, they're smart. So I used to read maybe 2 books a day-ish with them. We're up to like 6 books a day for my little one. And then my older one, we're maybe at 1-2 books, but it's because now they're big chapter books, right? And they're 7 and 6, second grade and kindergarten, reading at a middle school level.
Wow.
We just read the book Holes.
Dang.
Have you read Holes?
Yeah.
Yeah. We read Holes in a week, and they read it. So I would read 2 chapters, then my oldest would read 2 chapters, then my youngest would read 2 chapters.
Wow.
We read the entire thing in a week.
That's crazy.
And then I let them watch the movie, and I was like, they were like, oh, this is cool. We read it, because they haven't read a book and then watched it. You know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was cool. They're
great.
reading a lot.
That's great. That's one thing that my son, he doesn't read. He like hates reading. I'm like, dude, you got to get better at it, because that's how we learn.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one of the best ways to learn. But it's so hard nowadays with video. Like video is so easy, you know?
Yeah.
And that's all they want. But I'm working on it.
Yeah, good. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
He'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
He'll enjoy it. When he finds his first one he really likes,
Yeah.
he'll love it.
That's what it's going to take.
Mm-hmm. I remember mine was like Charlie Bone.
Charlie Bone.
Do you know what that was?
Uh-uh.
It came out, I think, at the same time as Harry Potter, but Harry Potter took off. Charlie Bone didn't. But Charlie Bone I thought was better, honestly.
Huh. Where can people find you and Arctic Labs?
Cool. Yeah. People can find mine at Luke Valen _ Someone took my other name, my actual Luke Valen. You can find Arctic Labs at Arctic, ARCTIC Labs, LABZ on Instagram. Everyone forgets the C. They say Arctic instead of Arctic.
Gotcha.
So Arctic Labs or www.arcticlabs.health.
Right on.
Yeah.
If you could go back and give 18-year-old Luke some advice, what would it be?
Oh, man, I don't know. I don't know if I would.
Okay.
I don't know if I would. Because I wouldn't be who I am right now.
Fair enough.
I don't know if I would do it.
Every downfall was meant to be.
Yeah, everything. I don't even know if the girls would be there if you give my girls, not girls, but you know what I mean, my babies. If you gave yourself advice and changed the trajectory of stuff.
That's a good point.
I think, like you're talking about, you're getting into your Bible, you're starting to read it cover to cover now. God's plan is perfect.
Yeah.
What is it in Romans? I don't want to get that wrong, but he works everything for good. Not some things. He works everything for good.
That's beautiful.
So I don't think I would change anything.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's something that's really helped me with stress is everything's meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happens was meant to be. Just got to do my best to work hard and do what I'm supposed to do. But at the end of the day, whatever happens, it's meant to be. And that really gave me some peace of mind with some stressful situations. It's just like, oh, this is part of the plan. God gave this to me for a reason. I don't know what the reason is yet, but time will reveal it.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time, we actually create those situations on our own. God's like, "Hi, oh man, it could have been so easy. I had this route for you, but okay. He won't leave us, but oh man,
Here we go.
He's going. It's like, what do they say? The Israelites, they could have made it in, was it 11 days or something? Took them 40 years.
Yeah,
because they don't want to listen. So it's like, hey, we had this path, 11 days.
For sure.
It's gonna take you 40 years. So
yeah,
that's okay. Whatever you're doing, it's right.
For sure.
What do they say? There was a great quote too that says, it's not biblical. What's happened and couldn't have happened any other way. It's meant to happen.
That's a good one to end on.
Yeah.
If you guys got some value from this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe. It'll help us out and help us reach more people. Thanks again for joining, and thank you, Luke, for coming on. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you.